LSU football is on the field right now, going through a walkthrough practice that features no contact. But the big news, T, is that the football team can actually play with a football.
Yes.
This morning.
Yes.
So that is major news, especially
so that's already
in
going on right now, right?
radio. It's going on right now.
I mean, it started at 6 a.m., right?
6 a.m.
And then they got another one this afternoon, a little 2-day walkthrough type deal.
A little football school sandwiched in between there. Big football day, T. So from sports radio's angle, this is...
big sports day. I mean, look, we got basketball scrimmages. We got pro baseball back. We got football school starting up. It's all happening. It's all happening. We just hope that it has to continue to happen. I think it will. So
T-Bob, give me your biggest storylines as LSU gets back on the field.
Well, maybe not. I don't know if I'm thinking biggest storylines. How about this? Storylines that maybe we haven't talked about enough. We touched on this.
Do you have any?
With defensive end the other day. I went scraping the bottom of the conversational barrel.
I mean, we asked Coach O about Avery Atkins Tuesday morning.
You did, which is a good question. Shout out to Avery Atkins. Love having a safety as my kicker. Not afraid to put his head in there. Well, that's appropriate, Jordy, because in my storylines that have we talked about them enough, we are going to start on special teams. And here's the question. Which Cade York will we see this season in Cade York year number 2? And it's odd. I don't know that there's a player.
I don't know any other Cade York than what I saw last season, though.
Well, the thing is, I'm saying, but last season was a up and down affair. Now, it is odd to talk about because, and it just shows the standard of perfection, the LSU standard of performance, if you will, that we could talk about Cade York in any negative terms because his numbers are crazy. Like, what did his final tally? What did he end up?
21 of 26 on field goals last season, 83 of 87 on PATs.
Yeah, so 21 of 26. Okay, see, that is exactly what I'm talking about in a bit of an odd up and down year. 21 of 26 as a true freshman is unbelievable. Missing 4 extra points is head-scratching. And when you look at Cade York last year, he started incredible, was just money and throughout the beginning of the season. And then it started to get a little sketchy in the middle. And actually, one of the things that I love most about Cade York last year is that he had that sketchiness going down and he still managed to corral it, keep things on the track, kicking be very mental. He didn't get in his head. He didn't just completely fall apart. And he made, for the most part, all the big kicks. But he did miss some ones. Like, I mean, what was it, the SC Championship? He missed one in the Natty. Exactly. But because your offense was so overwhelming, it didn't matter. But, I don't know that the offense is going to be as overwhelming this year. And so those field goals could be the difference between an SEC championship or a Natty. So that is a position where additional perfection will always be demanded. And it was a hell of a year one for Cade York. But it's just interesting that I think on the other side of it, the coaching staff and others maybe aren't like as confident as just that raw 21 of 26 number would let you know. But I will say this, in terms of potential, to do that as a true freshman and to do it on the biggest stages. So, like, there's no stage that you're going to hit Cade York with that's necessarily going to freak him out. I think about some of the big kicks that he even made early on against Texas. That is a hell of a foundation to build upon. Like, by the time he is done, you could be talking about a top 5 kicker in the entire nation.
For sure. And what I love about Cade York is that a lot of the things that you just highlighted and laid out, but the fact that he is potentially going to be a 4-year starter. And year one, he was on what possibly could be the best college football team of all time that went into environments and won big games and played in the biggest games of them all. And he was there and steady the entire time. Not steady in the sense of his performance. Like you said, it was shaky throughout the middle parts, but a lot like LSU's season and a lot like LSU's schedule last year, it all kind of happened at the right time.
Yeah,
right?
It did, yeah.
I mean, it kind of all happened at
he made the biggest
times.
ones he had to make.
That's right, and he made the ones that mattered. So I
think and you could say, well, no, he didn't because he missed the SEC and the Natty, but because the offense was so good, like he made the biggest ones. Although he still hasn't been asked, he was never asked to make the Cole Tracy Auburn walk-off game winner. Though admittedly,
but that's coming. But that's coming.
And admittedly, though, that's actually pretty rare in LSU history because hadn't that almost never happened before when Cole Tracy did it? There was some weird stat around the time. Anyway, that's enough Cade York talk. Something to watch on. Sticking with special team, which Zach Von Rosenberg will we get this year? In 2018, he was excellent. He was second in the SEC, averaging over 45 yards a punt. This last season, he dropped all the way down to 10th from second, averaging 42 yards a punt. And it wasn't just pure distance as well. When you look at 2018, he had a net of 44, which is spectacular. That speaks to somebody who's getting great hang time stroking the ball. Last year, dropped down a full 5 yards to 39, which is actually the worst of his 3 years. So you want to see him right that ship and get back to what he was doing back in 2018. And then how about this? We talk about that offensive line a lot in the question marks, and we talk about center. And look, I absolutely want to know this morning, right now, is Liam Shanahan taking reps with the ones? Is Jason Hines taking reps with the twos center? But what about right guard? What about Cardell Thomas? Good friend of the show. A guy that we used to interview and talk to all the time when he was in high school. A guy who put the LSU brand on his back and was actively out there advocating and recruiting, and a guy who showed up super in shape and seemed like he was ready to roll and then got injured, and now we just never hear about him anymore.
Here's the deal, and I think what I believe Liam Shanahan does for you is that he not only figures out the center position, but he also gives you the right guard as well, because I think Jason Hines is the best right guard on this team. I think Jason Hines potentially could be in the discussion if Ed Ingram doesn't take that next step as the best guard on this team.
The problem with that, who's going to be your backup center then? Because you got to rep Hines at center.
I'm just telling you the best five for right now. We can talk about depth if you want later on, but if you want the best five and Liam Shanahan is the best center, what it sounds like they think he is going into camp, then not only does Shanahan figure out the center position for you, he hand delivers your best right guard in Jason Hines to you, and I think gives you your best five when you talk about Shanahan center, Hines and Ingram.
So you're taking Hines at right guard over Bradford and Cardell Thomas?
I am right now. If Liam Shanahan is what they say he is, and he's the starting center, I think Jason Hines is etched in as your starting right guard, and Ed Ingram is the other.
I'm willing to say Ed Ingram's winning the left guard.
You got Deculus and you got Rosenthal.
Yeah, I guess the only issue with that is, like I said, you have to develop that depth at center. Does Jason Hines have enough practice at that position where you're cool with him just repping with the ones at right guard? Or does he have to do something like I used to do, where I used to do 2 plays at left, 2 plays at center, 2 plays at right guard, 2 plays out? Like, does he rep with the ones at right guard and then get some sort of rotation with the twos at center? Like, they got it. That's a tough line to walk.
First, let's see about Marlon Martinez, and let's see if he can compete there. They keep talking about Xavier Hill as a guy that they can use from a utility standpoint and move all around the offensive line.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not ready to just pencil in Hines as the backup center, because remember what we were hearing about Hines coming out of the summer workouts, T, and they weren't coming from coaches that weren't. They were talking from people that were out there. He was having problems with the snap.
Yeah.
And first things first, if you can't get the snap, you can't play center.
Yeah, straight up. But the only way to fix that is just by time on task. Mm-hmm. It's just practicing that position and practicing that snap. So, so then let's say Hines plays guard and Liam plays center. So then who's your backup center? Is it Charles Turner? Okay, you can actually maybe live with that. Because Charles Turner's someone he was a tight end in high school, but he's been repping center since he got here. Like, if you're somewhat comfortable with his ability, and I hope that we can get some, because none of these walkthroughs for football school are open to the public, right? Or the media. No. I hope that we can get some sort of insight into what they're thinking and what James Craig is planning on that offensive line, because that's, it's obviously got a lot of directions you can go. The last storyline that we have, we haven't talked about enough. How about this? Can Apu Ika overtake Tyler Shelvin?
No way. No way. No way.
Are the takes hot this Friday morning or what?
I anticipate Tyler Shelvin having a first-round draft pick type season.
Right. They got to pull him out there with the Mack truck, son.
Yeah, but you know what he's doing to him. You know he's talking to him. He's talking to him in July through the media.
No, I know.
You know what he's doing. He's making sure that he reads that somewhere. He makes sure that one of his relatives says, I was on the radio this morning talking about your weight, big fella. Oh, was he? Because he had me in the office yesterday telling me that he expects me to be an All-American this year.
Yeah.
Right? So he wants him to read that, hear that somewhere, and motivate him a little bit, because I think he knows that Shelvin is right there on the edge of greatness. And I think that they were a little surprised to get him back. And now that they got him back, they want to elevate him into a first-round draft pick, because they know he has that potential. And to do that, it's not going to be about what he accomplishes on the field. He's got to take care of his business off the field.
I know, but
from
all
an
I'm saying
academic
is-
standpoint and from a health and nutrition standpoint. And I think once he can, he can get that taken care of. I think they believe that he's a first-round pick, and I think O was sending a message to him earlier this week. He kind of giggled at it, when we were doing
he laughed
we
at
were
it.
doing the uh-oh.
He said, oh no, he's going to get it fixed.
Right.
No, I know, but let's also look at what Apu Ika did in year one.
Yeah.
This is a cat who walked in and played immediately on a national championship team. Like, it took, as good as Shelvin in as he is a monster, it took him a while to get to that point.
Yeah.
Ika stepped in, forced his way into the rotation. And yeah, granted, he wasn't as good as Shelvin, but he hasn't been around as long. Now he has a full offseason in the Moffitt program, knowing there's playing time to be had, a new defensive coach that you want to impress. That's all I'm saying. Watch out.
We'll talk to Hud Palmer about it next here on Off the Bench.